Thanks everyone so much for joining. But yes, Beth, who's done your graphics? They look insane. Be good.
Yeah, we have a few different people actually. People tend to switch around in MetaGame.
I see. Well, you have an amazing team because I also.
You mean like this one specifically?
Yes, this one specifically.
It's a girl called Bukes. You can find her through MetaGame or on Gitcoin as well. She did a lot of work for Gitcoin as well.
I see. That is amazing. Okay, guys. So I think let's get started. Beth, thank you so much for joining us. Extremely excited to host you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I think the first question we always love to ask people, because how they get introduced to Web3 is one of the most fascinating stories ever. So I'd love to ask you, what was your introduction to crypto, NFTs, blockchains, and the world of decentralizations in general?
It was fairly random, actually, I believe. And like previously, I was always I was always interested in this sort of like alternative economic systems and that sort of thing. So I was a big fan of these Zeitgeist documentaries. And then, like after a few years, I decided to rewatch them. And I don't know. For those who don't know, like it's a bunch about like the banking system, some conspiracy theories, and then it talks about this sort of resource-based economy, which is envisions this sort of new kind of socioeconomic system. And like these days, when I rewatched it last, it was the documentary was like some parts were a bit cringe, but they made a lot of impact on me when I was younger, and then I just decided to rewatch them, and then pretty much the next day after I rewatched them, I found Ethereum, and it was like this literally like this is the software, this is the technology that we need to experiment with new kinds of economic systems, to like new kinds of just the societies in general. So that's really how it hit me. And I think if I hadn't watched those documentaries, I wasn't researching, because besides those documentaries, I was like after that also always researching like eco villages and self-sustainable living, that sort of things. But I think if I hadn't watched those documentaries and researched all of that, I would have stumbled upon crypto, but it was just like I wouldn't understand it so easily. And this way, it just clicked. I was like, oh shit! Like this is this technology is super important.
Yeah.
And I just got in.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think the first time any of us discovered it, it was just like something that was mind blowing. It was so difficult to comprehend what is actually going on. But once we even like remotely understood, you couldn't like unsee what was happening, and you have to dive into the space. So I'm so excited you got introduced to it. And can't wait to jump on the meta game question. Is the more I was reading about you guys, whether it was through your website or the blogs you've written, the more interested I got. And I love how you guys call yourself and see the world of DAOs, and how specifically you call yourselves as a real life MMORPG. And for those who don't know, MMORPG is like a multiplayer online role playing game. So Beth, please expand on that.
So it was categorized, like we defined it as a massive online coordination game, where we really wanted to bring these different elements together. So we had like MMORPGs, so this is just like role-playing games, which people love. We had the MOOCs, the massive online open courses. We have the social media platforms, the freelancing platforms. And so just thinking like this would be like a mashup platform really of all of that, because it would be used for people to discover Web3, so it could be used for learning, but it's more than anything about coordination, so helping people join projects and coordinating projects. And I figured that like, the simplest way to explain it to people is usually just by saying like a real life MMORPG, so kind of like gamifying real life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we stuck to this day. And I still explain it as a massive online coordination game with the ultimate goal of finding the most optimal ways to play life. That is like right now we are super focused on crypto and building this quote unquote onboarding machine and a decentralized factory. So like bring into one place anything that people need for starting a DAO or like joining a DAO, like other resources, And building this network of project DAOs and service DAOs that again makes it easier for people to find the things that they need in the space or for their own DAO.
Yeah.
And that's our main focus.
That's awesome. So did you start MetaGame? Because from what you mentioned to us, you call yourself the Vision Beacon. So please share that story with us.
Yeah, I also like the word summoner.
Yes.
Sort of we had to come up with this. Summoner we didn't come up with it. It was actually a means word. But coming up with these new titles, because the titles from the old kind of organizations just don't fit. Like we don't have chief, or we don't have like the C-level in the DAO space.
Yeah.
And beacon is more like, sounds like someone that people ask for things more so than somebody who like gives orders. What was the second part of the question?
That you call yourselves the Vision Beacon. So if you had to translate that into like a corporate jargon, what would that be?
Just somebody who came up with a crazy idea and set it up and just keeps on spamming these ideas, like writing about it and talking about it and just trying to inspire people with it, and then people dig the idea and just start building it.
Right.
This is sort of how it happened, because I'm not technical, so that was the biggest challenge in the beginning. Like I couldn't just start building it. I was just had to be this prophet of like going around and just talking about it and writing about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what prompted you to start your own DAO versus just being a contributor at other DAOs? Like, please talk about that.
Initially, what got me started is when I was joining the MetaCartel DAO. For those who don't know, this is like a DAO that gives grants to projects in the Ethereum space, so like to help them get started.
Yes.
And that was 2019. And then when I joined, it was like a Telegram group and Moloch DAO front end, so just a treasury with voting. And I didn't understand anything, like how do I actually get involved? Who are these people? What are the projects? I just didn't understand what's going on. And so I started working on this thing called MetaCartel Black Paper that was about structuring it and creating these different paths for people to explore, this kind of a profile system and all of that. And then the more I was working on it, the more I thought, like, if we are building this whole system, then it makes sense to build it like a general platform for other DAOs to plug into. So it's not like just this whole thing for this one specific DAO. But then, as you can see, it started, I wanted to solve this onboarding problem, but I kind of infused it everything that I ever wanted to build before that, which is this sort of an alternative socioeconomic system.
Yeah.
And just ran with it.
Awesome. Explain, how did you get started with MetaCartel and Raid Guild? I know your Twitter bio talks about a bunch of DAOs. So you contributor there, and what has your journey been as a contributor?
Challenging. So when I joined the MetaCartel, that was the biggest problem, that like there were no like proper interfaces and places for like understanding things.
Yeah.
And so like the main way that I got into it is that I went to Berlin and met with all of those people. And that's also where the DAO House got started, and MetaGame. They were born on the same day at Eth Berlin. And the Raid Guild was also started kind of through MetaCartel. So like all three of these DAOs that are in my bio, or like the DAOs that came from this one DAO, basically.
Yeah, awesome. And oh my God, you guys conducted one of the most coolest events, which you had documented completely on YouTube. Why did you choose that name for the event, and how did you summon, literally a summoner, how did you summon all these people, to share their stories about DAOs and almost like hold and conduct a DAO summit?
Which one do you mean? We actually organized a bunch of these events.
I think it's called like MetaFest.
MetaFest, that was the latest one, yeah.
Yes.
So the first one we did was actually called Intercon. It was actually I think it was the first really Ethereum or DAO focused virtual conference. It happened like 2 weeks after the COVID restrictions started. Like, so back in 2020. And that went really well, like people really liked it. And then after that, we organized a hackathon, which was called Fork the World.
Yeah.
And that was also pretty cool. And then really the third one was MetaFest, when we thought, hey, what if we kind of merged both? Like, what if it's not just a conference or just a hackathon, but kind of both a hackathon and a conference?
Yeah.
And then what if it was like also combined like some social stuff, like, so that we wanted to make it more like a real life conference. So it's not like, how virtual conferences are just like talks on YouTube. There's no like networking on any of that.
Yeah.
So we wanted to like add games and other ways for people to meet each other in voice channels. And so we started really, it was a week of social events and playing games, then a week of talks, then a week of workshops, and then 2 weeks of hacking, which ended up in 3 weeks of hacking. And that was the first one. And then this year we said, okay, let's make it a bit shorter, because the first one was really insane. So this one was meant to be a bit smaller, but in the end, it lasted less in terms of weeks. So it was 2 weeks, but it actually ended up having more sessions than the first one.
Yes.
So that's also pretty crazy. And now we want to do one in real life. So that should hopefully happen next summer.
Amazing. And just to give you guys context, I'm going to quickly share my screen and show you the trailer for the MetaFest, because how amazing it was. Like, I saw the trailer, I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. Because most of the people who are in the DAO system are still like relatively few people if you compare to the population of the world. And to get them in like one spot, have them collaborate, create this network effect, I don't think it's easy to conduct something like that. So it's a 1-minute trailer.
What manner of man are you that can summon up fire without flint or tinder?
There are some who call me... Beat!
Amazing. Absolutely phenomenal. And guys, when you have time, you can go through their YouTube channel and you can see all the highlights of MCon, which is the MetaFest. And there's so many incredibly valuable conversations and stuff to learn from. So be sure to, check out their YouTube channel. Beth, that was amazing and phenomenal. How did you gather all these guys? Was it just through like Discord groups and Twitter?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, a lot of the people that are on there are just people who I personally know from the conferences and other events in real life. But yeah,
Awesome.
A lot of them. Yeah, this year there was over 130 sessions.
That's crazy. Amazing work to bring all these people together and share their stories. Hopping on to like DAO operational questions, how important do you think onboarding is for a DAO? Because a lot of people, like, you mentioned as well as a contributor, you were so confused when you entered a DAO, like you were just like lost and didn't know what to do. So what are your opinions on onboarding?
Super important. Like, there are people who can come in and sort of see, okay, so there's this GitHub link to the GitHub repo, and there are open issues, and they will start closing them. But these people are like super rare. It's, very few of them. I don't know how, like in these 3 years that MetaGame existed, I think there's only been a few people that did that. And like from the beginning, I expected it to be, well, not go directly like that, but I expected people in general to be a lot more autonomous in a sense of like coming in and picking things up. But most people are coming from like the working normal jobs, and they then like come here and expect to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And there's like this cultural mismatch where they don't like really understand how DAOs work. And so there's a lot of things that people need to learn when onboarding DAOs, like from understanding what the project is and how it operates, to just understanding the culture of the project or the way the DAOs work in general. And there's different areas that people need to understand before they can start contributing, or at least most people.
Definitely.
So I think it's super important. We have in MetaGame, we have general onboarding quests, which are like 5 to 10 quests that anybody should take when joining MetaGame. So like things like introduce yourself on the forums and things like that. And then this branches off into like the builder's path, the designer's path. So these different role-based quest lines.
Right. And while operating a DAO and as an admin, what do you feel like are some of your current pain points?
Current pain points? Currently, I'd say really the biggest pain point is this bear market and the lack of proper funding and getting things moving.
Right.
So people, from the beginning, the idea was that we would only get people who really are love the idea and are willing to work for these tokens, like not care about whether they get paid or how much they get paid.
Yeah.
And we got a bunch of those people, but the problem is that you can't really dedicate a lot of time if you can't live off of the pay you get.
100%.
So and I see this, that seems to be a problem across the DAO space, because most DAOs seem to be struggling with the treasury or not having funds.
Yeah.
And also I noticed a lot of people also want to have this, but you should work for intrinsic motivation. But people will work for intrinsic motivation, but how much will they work? A few hours per week? That's cool, but they're you're not gonna build a project very fast if the people are working a few hours per week.
100%.
So really nailing this, getting paychecks properly, it's a big challenge, I think.
Right. I feel like, the bear market, I know how challenging it is, but, people often also say bear markets are for the builders, and your point correctly noted, how long can someone be intrinsically motivated? As romantic as that sounds, you do need to pay your bills, you need to put a roof over your head, people have responsibilities and stuff, so managing your treasury is extremely important. But I feel like bear market gives the one opportunity to I feel like, we have to now be creative and think about, how can we do this? One good thing is you won't have random people with a lot of cash, flowing around, like you had when NFTs were such a hype. But you still might do have people, who really, really believe in the crypto space, who believe in the technology. Because most of the people I'm really hearing to, who are in the crypto space, they always say they always invest because they bet on the technology. So a bear market or a bull market doesn't affect them, right? And one of the most effective strategy also, I believe, was dollar cost average, where people invest in regular times. So people who do see the value in it will recognize and invest for sure. I feel like, we on the other end have to just be creative in terms of how can we get our mission out there? How can we communicate that story properly? How can we, create a proper value proposition? So lots of pros and cons to the bear market. It helps reduce the noise from a lot of random people floating around here and there. But I think it does give you a lot of room to quietly think, slowly work, but build something meaningful. And I feel like what you guys are already doing, so much content you guys have been publishing, or the amazing content calendar you made on your website and things like that, I feel like are really, really building towards that. But yeah, for sure. I hope that makes sense. I feel like we just have to be creative and putting ourselves in front of the right people to be able to, get our treasury and increase it in value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. And MetaGame has an extremely dope website. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but please go visit. It's on Pet's Twitter. I'd love to ask you, what is your guys' like ultimate goal or ultimate mission at MetaGame?
Well, it's really finding these like most optimal ways to play life, both like individually and collectively. So helping people design a lifestyle that they want to live and find projects that they like, that they can work on, that feel meaningful, not just like working a job that feels like a dead end. So that's really like the ultimate goal is like helping individuals like level up personally, become better people, find cool things to work on that also like they can earn from, and then collectively like build this alternative socioeconomic system. So really, in the next phase of the project, we will start connecting more with physical locations. We actually already have a few in the network that are like two villages, and there's like a farm, stuff like that, but they're not on the website or anything. They're just like some members of MetaGame that have these places.
Yeah.
But really the long-term idea is really to connect it more to the real world, so that there are these physical locations that people can go in between, and really if they choose, like completely live in this alternative socioeconomic system that's really more focused on well-being and regeneration rather than just profit extraction.
Right. That's amazing. And I wish you guys all the best of luck, because that mission is incredible. And I really feel like that is where the world is heading. I know it feels really slow now because of the bear market, but it's amazing that you guys are building behind it. Because when I feel like it catches fire, it's going to be a snowball effect of this movement just becoming bigger and bigger. Guys, please, community, type in your questions. We'd love to chat. Praful has shared, I believe startups and DAOs are alike, with obvious differences like decentralized members and fluid employment. What is your opinion about it? Is DAO more challenging than startups?
I would say yes, because there are like less clear things and less playbooks that exist for like how to do things. And I'd say that DAOs are actually easier to get started. Like it's easier to start the idea, start a Discord channel, a Discord server, get in people and all of that. But then in the mid to late stages, it's much harder, because like all these technologies that we are using are like barely functional. I mean, by now there's some things that are good, but it's largely like a jumble of different Web 2 and Web 3 tools that make up these DAO stacks. And then all this knowledge around how DAO compensation works, the like employee benefits. Are there employees even, or is it just a community? Like,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of unknowns, and it's a lot riskier for people to get involved with, because
Yeah.
jobs are safer because you know how much you'll get paid,
Yeah.
and you're gonna get paid in stable for sure. I mean, now there are DAOs that also pay in stable coins, but most DAOs that are like bootstrapping, they don't have stable coins to pay with, so they pay with tokens. But overall, I would say yes, it is more. It's easier to get started, but I think it's more challenging.
Right. And community, please type in your questions. This is a great opportunity because this session is live, so you get to ask your questions directly with Beth. And while that is happening, I'd love to ask you, Beth, how are you guys operating internally? From a DAO has so many steps to follow, right? From forum discussions to task management to proposal management to treasury. Like, how sporadic is it for you guys? How are you doing it?
The onboarding quest. Then after that, there's so we are running on this thing called SourceCred, which plugs into GitHub and Discord and Discourse, and tracks like contributions to the project. So it's like basically like an accounting system and bootstrapping system for DAOs. And then there's a channel called Did a Thing, where people post things that they do, like useful things that they do for the project, and then other people react on this message. And then based on how many reactions they got, what reactions they got, and from what people they got these reactions from, they get paid based on that. Then we have like weekly reports on top of that, which are weekly reports that come along usually with what's called the champions ring, and the champions are like the most active people in the community, so people who are leading these different internal functions and projects. So we have like the builders guild, the designers guild, which are like internal functions, but we also have like Meta Radio, which is the podcast. And so each of these initiatives has their own champion who's in charge of making sure that this part of MetaGame rolls forward. And we have these weekly sync meetings where we write reports and then we meet to discuss roadblocks. And after that, there's like seasonal reviews, which are, we play metagame in seasons, so every 3 months, and it's actually in sync with normal seasons. So right now we are season 7, the summer. And then every 3 months we meet, everybody meets on this big board on Miro, and then we write like messages on like what we like the most about the past season, what we like the least, or like what we are looking forward to in the next season, what we are afraid of, what do we want to like work on personally, like not just in metagame, but like how do we want to improve ourselves personally, things like that. And then there are proposals that don't really like follow this. I forgot the one step in between, which is the payroll. So we have the weekly things, then the token distribution happens monthly, or at least we try to make it happen monthly.
Yes.
And then 3 months the reviews.
Right.
And the proposals really happen whenever somebody comes up with a proposal. They can just make a proposal.
I see. That is a lot of tasks.
And I also forgot the bi-weekly newsletters to like keep the community informed, because Discord is a mess, as you know, like in most DAOs. You can't really like, unless you put in a lot of time, you can't really know what's going on inside the community by just scrolling through Discord, because there's just so much noise. So it's super important to have these bi-weekly newsletters, or however much, like they can be weekly, monthly, whatever, to like really write out like what's going on, what happened in the community, what's up next, and things like that.
Amazing. Yeah, I think newsletters are one of like, email is one of the best ways to break through Discord, because people are usually like part of so many channels. It's, hard to keep up. So I think that's incredible. We have a question from Sejal. She says, thanks for the session, Beth. I generally feel lost in gaming DAO, maybe because I'm new to gaming. Any suggestions on how onboarding should work specifically for a gaming DAO?
I guess it should be gamified, but in most onboarding is gamified, and it seems like even normal tools are trending towards gamification. Other than that, I wouldn't really know, to be honest. I'm not even in any gaming DAOs, and I don't even play really games much these days.
Right. I feel like it would just work like any other, because gaming also has a similar digital community like DAOs have. So, identifying, and I feel like everyone needs a guide to be able to, help them map out Discord, or even map out general, operations of a DAO. And one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, Beth, why DAOs? What makes you be a part of DAOs? Why not like other areas of tech, like AI or machine learning? Like, why crypto?
Well, like I was saying in the beginning, it's really this world of possibilities. I think it's for like with DAOs, it's really, you can build any other technology as a DAO, and I really like DAOs because they're meant to be this more like less hierarchical and more democratic kind of organizations, and like organizations really the last parts of more developed societies, I guess, not all of them, like some are still authoritarian, but like countries are democratic, but then companies are like not even close. Like you have a democracy on the state level, but then the companies tend to be like really top down, or like you can call them dictatorships.
Yeah.
And so this is what I really like, and making DAOs which are more distributed, so the decision making is more so like the frontline workers get to a say, and there's a more widespread distribution of ownership, both in terms of who, of people who work for the project and also people who are like users or fans of the project of the DAO.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
traditionally, people the founding team makes the pie chart of the distribution. They get most of the shares, and then the first the first few waves of employees get some share packages. But then the more company scales, people stop getting shares and just get paid normally, and then they don't get to enjoy the upside from the company's success. And also externally, they just sell products to people, and these people maybe are users for years and years, and they don't enjoy any benefits from maybe spreading the word about the project or even just being great users.
Right. I truly believe
And yeah,
Web3. Sorry to interrupt.
I was just gonna say, and overall, it's just what I was saying previously. This experimenting with building new kind of socioeconomic systems. I don't see this kind of potential in any other technology, and I see there's potential in other technologies, but I feel this is sort of the base layer, and then we can start plugging in all of these other technologies that will pushing the frontiers of technologies in other directions. And that's sort of how I see MetaGame evolving as well. There's this page about how MetaGame goes through phases, and really right now it's all about crypto. But as we go forward, I see crypto is moving more into the background. It's the infrastructure that things run on. And obviously, if you're gonna start building a project, we will recommend that you start a DAO and that you build these things using the crypto technology. But it won't be about crypto. It's just about using crypto to affect the real world with doing anything else that you want to do.
Yeah, I really feel the amount of possibilities that are exceptional in the crypto space. It's unlike with anything seen before, right? Whether it's the freedom or whether it's the scale of collaboration, ownership. It is something unlike we've seen anything. Even though it's so ambiguous today, even though it's a little not that structured, but I feel that is where also so much of where the leverage lies, right? Before the mass adoption comes into play, people who are building before mass adoption really have a lot of advantage. So that's amazing. Any ending thoughts? I have feel like one more community question for the community is: are you looking forward to Eth Merge? What is your opinion about it? Gas fee performance, etc. If gas fee remain high, it will change to build DAOs on ETH.
Absolutely looking forward to it. I wish it happened sooner. We've been hearing about it. We're looking forward to proof of stake since the beginning of Ethereum. So, and it's been postponed for various reasons for a long time, and looks like it's finally going to happen. So I'm really looking forward to it. How it's going to affect some of the things on the technical level, I'm not sure because I'm not technical personally. The gas fees should be lower in theory. It will be a challenge to build the DAOs on Ethereum. I mean, yeah, it is challenge right now. It was more challenging during the bull run. Now the gas prices are normal. I think even with proof of stake, there will probably remain these people will still be building on things on the cheaper chains like on Polygon or Gnosis, and maybe that's how things remain. So that's one of the theories, that there will be cheaper chains for DAO operations, and then the mainnet will be used for maybe the high end as a high end settlement layer for DeFi stuff or whatever. I think that makes sense, but yeah, I'm not technical, so I can't really go much deeper than that.
No, that was really helpful. Thank you so much for answering that. And Beth, thank you so much for conducting such a wonderful session and answering our community's questions and sharing about the story behind MetaGame and what it stands for. Any ending thoughts from your end?
Ooh, I lost you.
Oh,
I lost sound.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Yes.
I heard thank you, and then I lost you.
Oh, no, I was just saying thank you. Thank you for being amazing. Thank you for answering our community's questions. Thank you for sharing MetaGame's story. It was such a pleasure to host you and learn everything about, MetaGame stands for and the mission behind it. Any ending thoughts from your end?
Well, not really. I just want to say thank you very much for having me on. It was a pleasure. And shout out to Luxembourg and this Bulik, the metagamers who came on here to listen to me ramble, even though they've been a part of Metagame for years. So thank you guys, and thank you everyone. And thank you for inviting me.
Oh, true community member right there. All right, Beth, it was amazing, amazing, amazing to host you. Look forward to keeping in touch. Looking forward to, everything that Metagame has under the pipeline. And thank you, everyone else, for joining our Discord space. It is so, so lovely to see you all. Thank you for joining us today, and we will bring our Discord space to a close. Thanks, guys. Have a
I want to
lovely
say one thing.
Yes, please.
One thing.
Yes.
Please go try out this thing. We just deployed this onboarding game yesterday, actually. I wrote it a few days ago, and Luxembourg built it really quickly. And I would love to hear some feedback on it and see if people find it useful. So I shared it in the events channel for anybody who wants to check it out.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Excited to go through it. Lovely. Thank you, guys. We'll bring this Discord place to a close now. Have a lovely rest of the week. Not end, but have a lovely rest of the week. See you guys. Bye. Thank you so much for joining.
Bye.